Rory Gallagher, the life, career, and legacy of a guitar legend. Rory Gallagher was born on March 2nd, 1948, in Ballyshannon, County Donegal, Ireland. But he grew up in Cork, a city that would come to be deeply associated with his identity. His early life was steeped in music. His mother was a singer, and his father worked for the Irish Electricity Board but had a deep love for traditional Irish music. Rory's early exposure to music came through radio broadcasts and records brought home by his father, especially American jazz, country, and blues records that introduced him to artists like Woody Guthrie, Muddy Waters, and Lead Belly. At just 9 years old, Rory received his first guitar, a budget model with nylon strings. But it was in 1961 when he acquired his first electric guitar, a sunburst Fender Stratocaster, which cost him almost all his savings, that his signature sound began to take shape. That Stratocaster, battered and worn from decades of touring, would become one of the most recognizable symbols of his career. In his early teens, Gallagher played with various local bands around Cork, developing his craft by performing a wide variety of genres from skiffle to rock and roll. At the age of 15, Gallagher joined the Fontana Show Band, a popular touring act in Ireland at the time. Show bands typically played dance-friendly music that was in vogue in the early 60s. However, the rigid structure of show band music left Rory feeling creatively stifled, and he yearned to explore the burgeoning world of rock, blues, and improvisation. By 1966, he left the show band circuit to form Taste, a blues rock trio that would soon gain recognition beyond the borders of Ireland. Taste, formed with Eric Kitteringham on bass and Norman Damery on drums, later replaced by Richard McCracken and John Wilson respectively, became the platform through which Rory Gallagher found his voice as a guitarist and songwriter. The trio leaned heavily into a blues-driven sound, influenced by Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, and John Lee Hooker, but infused with Gallagher's own fiery, soulful playing. Taste released 2 studio albums, Taste, 1969, and On the Boards, 1970, the latter of which showcased Rory's growing abilities as a songwriter and guitarist. On the Boards reflected Gallagher's fascination with jazz influences, featuring tracks like It's Happened Before, It'll Happen Again, in which he incorporated saxophone, an instrument he played on the record. Their live performances were where Taste truly shone, building a reputation for electrifying concerts. Their performance at the Isle of Wight Festival in 1970, alongside the likes of Jimi Hendrix and The Who, was a turning point in Rory's career. Taste's raw energy and Rory's guitar wizardry left an indelible mark on audiences and critics alike. However, despite their growing success, internal tensions led to the band's breakup in 1970. After the disbandment of Taste, Rory Gallagher embarked on a solo career that would define his legacy as one of the greatest guitarists of all time. His self-titled debut solo album, Rory Gallagher, 1971, was a bold statement of artistic independence, combining his deep love for blues, rock, and folk with a more polished production than Taste had achieved. The album was well received, especially in Europe, where Gallagher's fan base was already expanding. Over the next few years, Rory released a string of successful albums, including Juice, 1971, Blueprint, 1973, Tattoo, 1973, and Against the Grain, 1975. His blend of blues, rock, folk, and jazz, combined with his powerful voice and electrifying guitar work, garnered him widespread acclaim. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Gallagher was not interested in commercial success or trends. He rejected the glitz and glamour of the burgeoning rock star lifestyle, preferring authenticity in his music and humility in his personal life. Rory's live performances became legendary, often playing marathon sets, lasting over 3 hours, with Gallagher putting every ounce of his soul into his guitar playing. He was known for his workmanlike approach to touring, often performing over 300 shows a year across Europe, North America, and Japan. Some of the highlights of this period include live albums like Live in Europe, 1972, and Irish Tour 74, both of which capture Gallagher's live energy and rank among the greatest live albums in rock history. The Irish Tour 74 album in particular is often hailed as a career-defining moment. The accompanying film, directed by Tony Palmer, showcases Rory's humility and commitment to performing in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, a politically tumultuous time. It was a gesture of solidarity with his fans on both sides of the conflict and illustrated his deep connection to the Irish people. As the 70s gave way to the 80s, Gallagher continued to release critically acclaimed albums, but the musical landscape was shifting. Albums like Photo Finish, 1978, Top Priority, 1979, and Jinx, 1982, showed that Gallagher was still at the top of his game, even as punk and new wave took over the airwaves. He remained devoted to the blues rock sound that had defined his career. However, Gallagher's later years were marked by increasing struggles with his health. By the mid-1980s, he was battling chronic stage fright, exacerbated by heavy alcohol use and prescription medication, which he took to cope with the pressures of constant touring. His refusal to compromise or slow down his grueling schedule took a significant toll on his physical and mental well-being. Despite these challenges, Gallagher continued to record and perform. In the late 80s, his music began to take on a harder, more aggressive edge, as seen on albums like Defender, 1987, and Fresh Evidence, 1990. The latter would be his final studio album, as his health rapidly declined. Gallagher's health problems worsened during the early 1990s, exacerbated by his heavy drinking and the various medications he had been prescribed over the years. He developed liver problems, and in 1995, after years of touring and pushing his body to the limit, his condition reached a critical point. Gallagher was admitted to King's College Hospital in London in early 1995, where he underwent a liver transplant in an attempt to save his life. While the surgery was initially deemed successful, he contracted an infection during his recovery that his body could not fight off. On June 14, 1995, Rory Gallagher died at the age of 47. Even after his death, Rory Gallagher's influence on rock and blues music has only continued to grow. Known for his extraordinary work ethic, authenticity, and dedication to his craft, Gallagher left behind a rich body of work that continues to inspire musicians to this day. His peers and successors often cite him as one of the greatest guitarists who ever lived, including icons like Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, and Brian May. Gallagher's aversion to commercialism and his steadfast loyalty to his fans earned him an almost mythic status among blues and rock enthusiasts. His improvisational skill, deep emotional expression, and technical prowess placed him alongside the greats, yet he never sought the limelight or mass commercial success. Several posthumous releases and tribute concerts have been held in his honor, and his albums remain in high regard. Statues and plaques commemorate him in his hometown of Cork as well as in Ballyshannon. Rory Gallagher's worn Fender Stratocaster is now one of the most iconic symbols of his legacy, representing his relentless passion for the guitar. Rory Gallagher's story is one of uncompromising artistry, immense talent, and a deep connection with his audience. Though he left the world far too soon, his music continues to inspire and resonate with generations of fans and musicians alike.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Delving into the Deep for regular updates.